Well, Prince Philip was widely known for his sense of fun, but also his legendary quick wit got him into hot water on more than one occasion.
But ask any royal reporter and they'll tell you that his remarks were always taken wildly out of context. He was often, in his own words, just breaking the ice. He was a man who took his role seriously, but also found humour. Supporting the Queen at events in all weathers, Prince Philip's sense of fun was never far away.
He liked to laugh. He had the ability to make the Queen laugh. He was often criticised because of his gaffes, but they weren't really gaffes, and most people were thinking that anyway. I'm reminded on one occasion it was a press reception. I can't remember which country it was, but a reporter said, "How was your flight?" And quick as a flash, he said, "Have you ever flown?" The reporter said, "Yes, it was just like that." You couldn't help but laugh.
What the award does is it develops, most importantly, develops self-confidence.
Family also found themselves on the receiving end, like Prince Edward, during a joint interview on the Duke of Edinburgh award.
You can see he's got a gold award. But for that, he would have been a dropout.
Yeah, probably. My father was always capable of being able to manage interviews in a way and say things that the rest of us always dreamed we could say. And he was brilliant with them, always absolutely brilliant.
Oh, Steve, I mean, can you get Radio 3 on?
Fantastic sense of humour. But, of course, you can always misinterpret someone's humour. You can turn it against them so that it sounds if it's not right.
The press did not always see the funny side, particularly when the comment was interpreted as being culturally insensitive. Prince Philip was not slow to let those who wrote headlines know what he thought of them.
We could see Philip coming over, and he sort of came over and he sort of tutted, and he said, the trouble with you lot is you've got no sense of humour, a complete absence of humour.
However, disapproving the headlines, the Duke's press secretary knew better than to question him.
You don't advise Philip on things like that, because they come at the spur of the moment, they come off the top of his head.
And so it continued into the later years, and a widely reported conversation with a sea cadet who told him she had another job.
And I just said that I worked in a club, and then he asked, "Oh, what, a strip club?"
What did you say to that?
Obviously I said no. And then he said, "Oh, it's a bit too cold today anyway."
Prince Philip was in his 90s when he provoked this reaction and the coverage that accompanied it. Opening a sexual health centre in London, he remarked, "At least you're all legitimate now."
He was clearly looking for a degree of mischief. I think he wanted to make people smile, and he did. It was fun, a little bit risque, and I think we probably all felt, thank goodness there are people like that in the world.
The humour was still there on the day he called a halt to royal engagements.
I'm sorry to hear you standing down. I can't stand up much.
Those who came to know him best say that it is the wit that he brought to his role supporting the Queen that they're all going to miss now. Isn't that hilarious that he had a press secretary that could not advise him on matters of the press because he was such a renegade?
He just didn't listen. He was a free agent, was how they described him. They couldn't control him.
And Ange Mollard is here again. Ange, thank you for staying around. We've just seen a bit of a look at his gaffes, and also the man, the romantic too. He's a war hero, a military man, but also a big softie. It was,
such a softie. I was just doing some more reading, and I found this lovely story in 2017. It was their 70th wedding anniversary. He was older as well. You know, the Queen was 91. He would have been 96 at that time. He decided he would come along. He went along to the dinner, but he was going back to Windsor. She was going to Buckingham Palace. Apparently, they were driving out together. He wound his window down and went, "Goodbye," and she wound his down and went, "Goodbye" as well. I was so really lovely. And look, he had this ability. There's a little phrase that he used to say to her. You know, it's a very, very busy job, and we don't really appreciate that. So during the Jubilee, they were 4 hours on a boat in the rain on the Thames, and he would say to her things like, "Don't look so sad, sausage." And, you know, there's real warmth that he had with her that we didn't really see. It was behind the scenes.
And apparently he was very romantic, and he used to buy her little trinkets and write her notes continuously. And a lot of us, it sounds ridiculous, but a lot of us have sort of come to know him through The Crown recently, watching the Crown. It sort of humanised him.
And I think what was wonderful has been about The Crown was that we saw the full scope of their relationship. So we saw the fact that he loved Clarence House as a place to live. That was where, I mean, it's the nicest of all the the most homely of the residences, and he had to move out of that to Buckingham Palace, and he wasn't that keen on doing it. But I thought we saw the real humanity between them as a couple. But one of the other stories I love about him is that the Queen wanted his dressing room to be repainted, but he couldn't know that it had been repainted, so they had to repaint it in exactly the same colour while he was at another palace so that it could be done.
That is brilliant, and there's so many of those wonderful humanising stories, and I think that's the key thing, isn't it? He broke down just the idea of the royals being highly manicured and confected. He sort of brought them to the people. Thank you very much, Ange.
Thanks.